Hello, everybody. I am back home. It feels nice to be back. You can tell I'm in like comfy clothes today. I have barely any makeup on because I'm trying to moisturize. It's nice to be back home, especially with everything going on in LA right now. It's a scary time for LA. I posted a picture of the fires from the airplane, like my view of them from the airplane as I was coming home last night. Yeah, it's good to be back. It's funny, because CES happens right after winter break every year. It's like I put snooze on a bunch of stuff from the winter break, and then I put snooze on a bunch of stuff while I'm at CES. And so when I come home from CES, it's like the backlog of emails and meetings and bookkeeping and all that stuff I have to do is just intense. So I'm, starting to look at all those things that need to be done now, but it feels good to be able to get a start on that, right? Hype train! Thank you for the hype train. All right, let me go through and thank everybody who's here. You're all amazing. Al Barak, thank you for the resub and happy 5.5 year subiversary. Pave Camaro, thank you for the resub as well. Yay! Happy 3 year subiversary to you. Edrin, welcome back. Buffalo Chicken Guy, good to see you too. How am I doing? We are safe and sound as of right now. That being said, I just saw that a new fire popped up right before I went live. But the winds are a little lower now, which is huge. However, Nate just told me that a new Santa Ana event is supposed to start on Tuesday. So, you never know. So hug those you love and be grateful for what you have. And, you just hope for the best. Lucas, I did see that they arrested somebody. They could not arrest him for arson because they did not have enough proof that that's what it was. So they, I think, arrested him on parole charges. I think that's what was said. But yeah, it's absolutely opinionate. There's so many different fires. That they're all starting, for a variety of different reasons. But really, in case you haven't seen this, just to give you an idea of what 100 mile per hour winds with fire look like, it's out of control. Like, our first responders are amazing for dealing with this. So here. This is a McDonald's here in LA. But, how do you even combat that? How do you even combat that? That's what was happening here in LA for a day and a half straight. So super shout out and kudos to all of the firefighters who are doing the absolute best they can. And I know we've had first responders and firefighters coming in from all of the neighboring states as well. So it's not just the LA firefighters. People really are rallying together. I was watching on the news this morning that people are helping out however they can. People are at the Rose Bowl right now bringing food and clothes and diapers and water. And there was a lady they interviewed that brought her therapy dog. They had a couple therapy dogs there for kids who were displaced due to the fires to be able to come and just hang out with a therapy dog for a little bit to help them emotionally regulate. I did see Kevin Smith's video, that his house survived a really close call. But yeah, it's out of control. It's out of control. Palisades and Altadena looks like fallout now. It does. So we had our friends Jeff and Emily lost their entire apartment they were in the Altadena area, and their whole apartment burned down. And what's absolutely wild about these fires is the traditional fire areas were less affected than the areas that where our friend Jeff and Emily's apartment was a downtown area. It wasn't remote and surrounded by lots of forests or anything like that. Normally the fires in California start in remote woodsy areas and then blow into the more residential areas. The wild thing about this is like so many residential areas got hit. Yeah, Cali's burning and Atlanta just had a poop load of snow dumped on it. Yeah, people are saying it's the Song of Ice and Fire for real right now in the US. And yeah, a lot of people are saying it reminds them of the Maui fires. Oh, the Santa Ana winds, not only did they not help, no, they're like directly responsible. Yeah. Because in a lot of times the Santa Ana winds will blow electric lines into trees. And then that's how it starts. And then the winds are so fast that they just take off. Like, we'll see it, and this is how it's been for years. You'll see it pop up on the apps that it's like, small brush fire, 10 minutes later, 1 acre, 5 minutes later, 20 acres. And it just balloons, like it just grows so fast that the important thing for people who live in California, and we've learned this because where our house is a more traditionally fire-prone area, because we're kind of outside the city more, and have more like wildlife and natural land around us, so we are more fire-prone just by nature of that. You check where the fire is and you check the wind direction. It's all about that wind direction, and if the winds change direction, be ready to run. And that's the way that Nate and I have really, done our best to try to mitigate what we can do. But yeah, it's kind of a mess right now. And yes, it's so sad that people are taking advantage of the situation to loot and stuff like that too. It's just awful. And Astro Banshee says, I always feel safe being urban locked, but like you are, but it's not necessarily true. That's what happened to our friends. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. So yes, I did fly back home. My flight was delayed about 2 hours, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not bad at all. Distorted, I agree with you. I really wish people could just have compassion right now. I feel bad because a friend of mine messaged me this morning using the phrase like Hollywood is the city of sin or something like that, which I guess is a common phrase. But I took it so personally because I feel like I've seen so many people online saying just horrible things about why they feel like people in LA deserved this for some reason. And it's made me so upset. Like, Los Angeles has been my home for over 20 years now. I guess exactly 20 years. This is probably my 20-year LA anniversary. But I love this city. I love the people in this city. I love the opportunity in this city. And so it's made me like really, really sad just to see people being absolutely crappy online. So like Distorted said, just send help or be quiet. You don't need to be mean. And I totally agree with that. Yeah, people love to hate on California. And I'm like, look, I love it. And please come here. And I would love to show you what's beautiful about it. The wildlife is stunning. And like I said, for me, when I first moved here, it was all about the opportunity. Because where I grew up, there were like, there's certain good jobs that you can get. And then you live a nice life. And that's what it is. And that's awesome if that's what you want. But for me, I was like, I was a kid that had big dreams. Like anyone that's ever dreamed of like, maybe I want to be a movie star someday. Maybe I want to work in the entertainment industry. Maybe like all of those people that are like aspiring artist types, LA is the place to be. It's what represents those hopes and dreams and ambitions. And so it's hit me in a weird way. And I was really trying to compartmentalize while I was at CES because I was like, I can't just stop posting CES coverage or stop caring that it's CES because of this. But now that I'm home, I'm able to like process through a little bit more of it. D-Man says the biggest thing that struck me when I visited LA after TwitchCon was how much history so many of the buildings had. It's something I never want to see lost. Yeah, I'm not sure. Does anybody know if the Getty Villa totally burned?
You have returned.
I don't know. I'm sad about it though. I saw signs that like it was definitely in the burn area. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Like I was reading an article that the Palisades High School, which is no longer there.
Structures are unaffected.
All right, Getty Villa structures are unaffected. Great news. Thank you for looking that up, babe. The Palisades High School totally destroyed. That's where Carrie was filmed. So if any of you like the horror film Carrie, it's also where Freaky Friday with Lindsay Lohan was filmed. Like a lot of like big filming locations were toast. Yeah, Getty Villa's okay. Also, hi Nate. The Hollywood sign is still fine. Yep. And the observatory is still fine. I saw that too. Mad Dog Rings of Power is not better than the original series, in my opinion, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Project X also filmed on Palisades High. But yeah, I mean, it's just the Chinese theater where all the premieres were held was almost in an evac zone thanks to the Sunset Fire. It's wild. So everybody stay safe. Get your bug out bags ready. Nate and I have one, but I think between now and Tuesday when the Santa Ana winds are supposed to kick back up, we're going to go through our stuff. Yeah, Magic Castle was in that area. To clarify, the evac area. Magic Castle is still okay. Johnny says the winds are supposed to pick up again on Sunday and then again on Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay. But yeah, we're going to just reevaluate what's in our go bag and get ready just in case. Logan's good and he's playing Legos downstairs. Distorted, I get it. But you know what? There's natural disasters everywhere. I feel like a lot of people left California for Florida because of the wildfires and then moved to Florida and got slapped with hurricanes. Like, there are natural disasters issues everywhere. When I grew up in Pennsylvania, it was always tornadoes. Astro Banshee says they evacuated the Dolby Theater during the Sunset Fire. That's a good idea. Bigger on the Inside said Seattle is nice. Seattle is nice. Is that when I got to film the show there every week, it was nice to be up there. D-Man says you have so many computers and trinkets to pack. Honestly, we wouldn't even be able to. Like, it's like what you can fit in a car and go as fast as you can. The insurance company thing is a nightmare, though. A lot of Californians I know moved to Vegas. It was actually fun being in Vegas for CES and seeing my formerly Cali friends that now live in Vegas. Max says, I'm from Northeast PA originally, and our disasters were always flooding. The one from 2011 was surreal to live through, right? That's what I'm like. Nowhere is completely free. Like Taipei, when I was in Taiwan, loved visiting Taipei. They get big earthquakes all the time, and it's just normal. And STS says, I don't know if I could live in Vegas. That place just seems crazy. Well, I will tell you. I know I was making jokes about Vegas voice. You can already hear that my voice is starting to come back now that I'm not there. But you can smoke in the casinos. And so when you're walking through the casinos in those open areas, even though they have filtration in the casinos, the cigarette smoke just like trashes my voice. And California, where I live, is very dry. Vegas is even more dry. My friends that moved there said that like for the first couple months that they lived in Vegas, they just felt like they were like a shriveled up sponge all the time, and then their bodies adjusted. But like today, I put moisturizer on my face, and I feel like my face like soaked it up like that. And like I have Vaseline on my lips right now because they're so chapped. And I was slamming water the whole time I was there, and it just doesn't help. But yeah, Vegas is tough, but the people are so lovely. Oh, Mr. Big says, I love living in Vegas. You'd be surprised how little you actually go to the Strip. I'm sure. It's like people that live in New York don't generally want to go to Times Square. Here in LA, even though my first year living here, I lived near Hollywood and Highland. After that, you're like, no, I'm good. I'll avoid that area. Or downtown. No one in LA really goes to downtown if they can avoid it. My face says there's Vegas and there's Nevada. Totally separate. Michelle was streaming yesterday and whispering because the fire smoke killed her voice. Yeah. We have what we're doing. Nate has been doing an awesome job while I was at CES. We have air purifiers in almost every room, thanks to my husbando. And also thanks to me doing Amazon reviewing, because not a lot of times, but over the years, I guess I've now been reporting for Amazon since like 2019. So it's been a long time now, 5 years, huh? But over the last 5 years, every now and then a company will say, don't bother shipping it back, or Amazon will say, don't bother shipping it back. And so I have enough small room-sized air purifiers that people didn't want back that we have one in Logan's room, our bedroom, the upstairs landing, our living room, and our guest room. So we've got air purifiers like going in the house right now. Oh, wow, bigger on the inside. That's really interesting. Bigger on the inside said California's banned insurance companies from canceling or refusing to renew residential property policies in LA neighborhoods ravaged by this week's fires, per Bloomberg. Well, I would think it would be illegal after the fire to cancel policies anyway. Like Nate says it is. Like I would think that would be illegal, but maybe refusing to renew come next year. Like Nate and I are pretty sure that because of our flooding situation this year, our insurance company is going to refuse to renew us next year. And it's crappy. You feel like they shouldn't be allowed to do that, but You've never been to Las Vegas, but you have a flight layover there tomorrow for an hour and a half. Sterling, you're going to laugh. In the Vegas airport, there's like mini casino setups in the airport. So while you're there for your layover, if you want to play some slot machines, that's a thing you can do in the Vegas airport. It always makes me laugh so hard when I'm there. Yeah, lots of slot machines. Exactly. Yeah, the insurance system across the country is borked. Because doesn't Florida have a hard time getting insurance too? I know there's other states that deal with it too. It's not just California, but you hear about it a lot in California for sure. I think in California one of the reasons you hear so much more about it is because a lot of people that work in San Francisco and LA in either big tech or big entertainment, those people make a lot of money. And so their houses are very expensive. And so when something like this does happen, especially the Palisades neighborhood, holy cow. Like the Altadena stuff is a little bit more lower and middle class areas, but the Palisades region though is like really big fancy houses. Like I don't know how that wouldn't bankrupt insurance companies. It's out of control. Did our insurance pay us back for the flood? Great question, Frequency Punch. We still don't know. We are still dealing with that. In fact, you watch Nate walk across here to print out some papers. Nate is working on that right now. He is the hero. Working on all that still. Some of the funds that our insurance company issued us during this whole process so far, now they want to take back. Interesting how after the fires, they suddenly want to take money from our flooding situation back. But no, they did not cover all of the construction costs. They said they would cover about half of the construction costs. Because they said like, hey, I understand this is what it costs you to do it, but we think it should only cost half that. So we're only going to give you half that. And we were like, but that's not what it costs. Like I'm showing you receipts here. that this is what it costs. And they're like, no, we think it should only cost half that. So we're only going to give you half that. So we're dealing with that right now. It's a nightmare. But not as much of a nightmare as everyone who completely lost their houses. So insurance stinks. Like a good neighbor, that company is not there. But so yeah, it's a thing. But yeah, a lot of people in SoCal are about to find out how crummy their insurance companies actually are. We've been dealing with it on our own scale since September, but other people are really gonna have to deal with it. And so, I mean, honestly, like, us having half our first floor destroyed is nothing compared to people whose whole houses have burnt down, along with everybody in it. So everybody in SoCal, I hope you stay safe. Get your go bags ready. Make sure your pets and your pet supplies and that kind of stuff are all ready to go. Oh, Astro Banshee, that's great. Yeah, I can't imagine losing everything all at once. Odyssey Dave, I don't disagree with you. Starcat, you know what that makes me think of? Starcat said Mewtwo and Detective Pikachu was right. Humanity sucks. Sometimes humanity sucks, but sometimes humanity's pretty awesome.
A kind gesture.
Thank you, Be Right UK. Be Right UK says insurance policies normally come with an excess, the salaries of the C-suite. I mean, that's a much bigger conversation about our whole country at this time. How the rich have ballooned in profits in the last 20 years as the poor get poorer. That stinks. But I honestly don't know what will change that. It is wild. And the middle class is slowly disappearing. Yep. Well, I hope that our country is not headed the way of the French Revolution, because that wasn't fun for anybody. Still isn't fun for the French, Nate said. Facts.
They're so revolting.
No, Mr. Biggs, we do not have flames or smoke in our area because where the fires are in relation to us, the wind is blowing the opposite direction, which is not usually the case. Usually when there's a fire near LA, we're right in the thick of it. Like, the first weekend we moved into our house, I hadn't even given birth to Logan yet. Like, I was pregnant with Logan. We had just signed on our house, and we could see the mountains on fire from our backyard. So we've been dealing with it ever since we moved in. Yeah, you never know how the winds are going to change. And so we watch that stuff like a hawk. And not a drop of rain yet. We haven't had rain in a long time. And it stinks too because we had like a really rainy patch, which then made everything grow. And then it all dried out, which is also part of why the fires are so bad right now. Yeah, no ash by my house. When I landed in Burbank last night, though, ooh, that air quality was not good. I was, like, excited to leave Vegas because of the smoky air, and then I got into Burbank, and I was like, oh. No red skies where I am either. But we have the air filters running in the house anyway, just in case. But yeah, we're watching our apps like a hawk, and we have all the, like, emergency alerts that LA will send out. Okay, that new fire is still just 1 acre as of 2 minutes ago. Although they do have it, they are evacuating. They are not evacuating Sarah yet. Like, we just have, like, memorized all the locations of our nearest and dearest friends, and are just watching it like a hawk right now. I know a lot of friends that just they weren't in evac zones, but they just grabbed all their stuff and left anyway. They're like, I'm going to DC, or I'm going to San Diego, or I'm going to go stay with my parents that live somewhere else or whatever for a couple weeks just till this is all gone, which is honestly a great idea for the air quality anyway. Mr. Big says, this reminds me of 2 years ago when Canada had bad fires and the winds actually blew it into New York. I remember that. My parents in the Philly area were seeing that too. Yeah, it's wild. Like, especially the people that live, like for those of you who still follow Lee and Delman, they got out of town and I think they're staying with Delman's parents because the area that they're in is kind of right in the middle. And so they're not in a fire area, but they have fire areas all around them. And so they were just like, nope, we're out. D-Man says, yeah, we evacuated hours before an official evac notice was given. Do you have a safe place to stay? Because Airbnb and LA 211 have paired up to give free Airbnbs to people that are displaced. So if you're in an evac zone, know that you can do that. STS said the sky turned green and had a mild taste to it for the Canada fires. Ugh. Gross. Starcat says Lee put a vintage shirt and a puppet in her go bag. You know what? Grab your dearest things and go. I just asked Logan this morning, does he know what he packs? Does he know what he wants to pack if we have to go? And he was like, it's really hard to only pick one stuffy.
You said it's really hard for me to only pick one stuffy. Specifically, like...
He does have a lot of stuffies.
Because he's got so many. Which
He does have a lot of stuffies.
Ridiculous child.
That is a hard decision for a kid to make. Like, even just on, like, the simplest level. I am Drax, I know. We're having a pseudo... I'll get into Nintendo news. I'll talk about what I saw at CES that was Nintendo related, but we're just kind of catching up on things since I've been gone for a while. Yeah, it's stuff that can't be replaced. Exactly. Cornell. You got it. But, like, for his little mind... You know, his stuffies have been some of his best buds since he was a baby. It's a big deal for him. And Pokemon cards, yeah. I did get to see a whole lot of new GPUs, D-Man. And even our streams from the AMD setup yesterday and the day before, we actually got to play on one of the new GPUs that's not even announced yet, which was cool. And yes, there were tons of Switch 2 rumors. One of them... Okay, so... I don't want to share the images of the Switch 2 leaks from the accessories companies. You can look them up if you want to, but they're not confirmed by Nintendo. But it's hard because I think a lot of the partners that Nintendo wants to work with, like hardware partners especially, they need to give the hardware partners some information so that they know what to make. But then they also really have to trust the hardware partners not to leak things. And so I guess there was one big one, if not two, hardware partners that had like prototypes of what the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to look like on the CES show floor. What? Now again, Nintendo has not said a word about it. They have not confirmed nor denied that any of that is true. There was also apparently a Japanese, I think, Amazon page for a Switch 2 accessory or a Switch 2. Oh, Lucas says Nintendo did comment on it. They confirmed that wasn't the final design. Good. I was hoping that Nintendo seeded designs that were like not it on purpose so that if this happened, they know who to never work with again in the future. And they definitely would have signed strong NDAs. But maybe it's not far off. I mean, if the people needed to make hardware to go with it, it couldn't be that far off. The one rumor that I liked that I will share, because I don't think this is a leak and I don't feel like this is bad for Nintendo, and I did put this on my Instagram story as well. But multiple companies, including Lexar, were all launching their micro SD Express cards in the like March, April, May timeframe. Okay, my sensors went off. So micro SD Express, by the way, is a significantly faster version of micro SD than we use in the current Switch and in other gaming handhelds like the Asus ROG Ally and the other handheld gaming PCs you see. All of those use micro SD standards that you're used to seeing all over the place. Micro SD Express is a micro SD standard that's been around since, I guess it was introduced in 2018 or 2019. But nothing could use it yet. It was one of those like, cool, the memory and storage are like faster than we have any gadgets to make use of yet. Neat. So the fact that all of these memory and storage companies are releasing micro SD Express cards in the March, April, May time frame, that my antennas went up, I will tell you. You heard GameStop has the Express micro SD cards listed on the website for the Switch too. Look, I'm just making connections, all right? Chris the Brit says, I'm sure the partners can create hardware on Switch 2 on fake cosmetic, but real internal parts. Yes. But here's the thing. If the Switch 2 does in fact support micro SD Express, that's massive. Like, I hope then they come out with the next Asus ROG Ally that supports micro SD Express. Because you know how like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are like next to no load times thanks to the high-speed internal SSDs. This essentially makes like high-speed internal SSD speeds on our handhelds. Like that would make a massive difference in the visual and the performance that we could get on handheld consoles. So I got really nerdy and excited about that, which was my whole last Instagram reel. The dots connect. Be Right UK. I don't know. I'm waiting to hear from my friends at Alienware and my friends at AMD about how all that's going to go. Lucas, from what I understand, I haven't done testing myself because I haven't done anything but see the 50 series cards outside of cases. It is 1/3 the cost, but only, I guess, the same power under certain applications. It depends what you're doing. But that's not really, that's too simplistic to say across the board. Zevin, your Switch got hijacked by your kids. Yeah, that happens. But yeah, I mean, that what you're referring to, Lucas, pretty much happens with not every, but most generations of new cards. It's like they try to make a claim like, you know, our mid-tier of this next gen is just as good as our highest tier of last gen. That's something that you'll see generation over generation, but it depends which benchmark they're quoting when they say that. Odyssey Dave says you're looking through GameStop's site now and not seeing any micro SD Express products. Micro SAD Express? Oh no. Building your first PC. Lucas, make sure that you use PCPartPicker.com to make sure all your parts are compatible. Yes, I love the people putting in real world, like, probably better to use a 4090 for machine learning. And D-Man says gaming with the LSS 4X, that it can match the frame rates of the 4090. Like I said, they're making that claim based on like one benchmark generally when companies do that. Like when I hosted Intel Live, when they were first unveiling Arrow Lake, a lot of the claims that the person from Intel was making on that day were based on like one or two benchmarks. And that's not like shady business on NVIDIA or Intel or anything like that. That's how it is. Like, if you were marketing a phone and you did one test where it outperformed everything else and then other tests where it was just middle, of course you're going to take the like best performance and use that for your marketing, right? So you always just have to take marketing with a grain of salt. I always laugh at CES that every marketing person writes innovative and game changer about 1 million times in their marketing spiels. Everything is a game changer. Everything is super innovative. It's very, very, very funny to me. A total game changer in the field. You hear that so many times. And so, yeah, just do your digging. Take it all with a grain of salt. Marketing's job is to make it sound like the best thing ever. Game changer in the space. I heard about 1 million times this week, too. Innovating, game-changing, game changer of innovation. Odyssey, you could have a job as a tech marketer so easily. You've got it. You have got it. What was the most exciting thing I saw at CES? It depends what you mean by exciting. Like exciting actually coming to market. TCL had part of their Q series, a mini LED TV that's like more affordable for normal people. And it's the first time that type of television technology that like you see at CES and knocks your socks off is actually under $1,000. That's what when I say like normal people, I don't know about you, but I'm not out here spending like $6,000 on a TV. That's not in my budget. So that was cool. Also the micro SD Express and the CU DIMM RAM, that's going to be big when we can actually use that. I did see other streamers and other tech friendos. That was great. Did TCL's AI robot creep me out? I don't know that I saw their AI robot. There's so much that I don't get to see. If you want to take a look at the things I did get to see, I put out a YouTube video this morning on my YouTube channel with just like some highlights of the stuff I got to see. This year, because I was streaming from AMD's booth for about 8 hours of my CES, that essentially knocked one whole day off my CES. So there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to go to the show floor and see that I just didn't have time for. CES is so busy and it takes place all over the strip. And to get from like one part of the strip to another part of the strip in Vegas can take over an hour because of how busy it is and the road closures and the shuttle. Like I took the shuttle bus from the Venetian to the convention center one day and it took me over an hour. And so even though you have like scheduled press appointments to see stuff, some of it you just miss. You can't get to. And so being just one person and not a team, it's hard to see a lot of it. So I saw as much as I could see. And like I said, I put it all in the video that I put out on YouTube this morning. Some of it I put out on shorts and TikTok and stuff like that. But everything I saw is pretty much in the YouTube video. Let me just see another evacuation. This is for Altadena. They're having a virtual community meeting to give us an update. Okay. I made the massaging chair look scary. I was not getting hurt. It was just way too big for me. Like the way it moved your arm, because it felt like my hands were in the hand spot, and then they were in like the elbow spot. Like, because I don't know. I don't know if it's made for someone much bigger than me, but it was very funny. I was not hurt. I was just laughing. Those massage chairs were ginormous. Yeah, no, I was not getting hurt. It was just funny. Did I do any sightseeing in Vegas? No time. Not this trip. I have done sightseeing in Vegas before, but not for this trip. What was the point to that chair? I think it was meant to mimic, like, have you ever gone to get a massage? And I'm sorry, I don't know if, like, this is specifically Thai massage or what kind of massage this is. But have you ever gone to get a massage where they just, like, stretch you? Like, it's less about rubbing and kneading, and it's more just about, like, stretching you in different ways. I think that's what it was mimicking. Oh, Odyssey Dave, yeah, skilled human any day for sure. But like on the days you can't get that, fancy massage chair. I am Drax says, would I be correct in assuming the creators are just rushing booth to booth and quickly shooting a video and running off? Not usually. So the way that it works is generally you make appointments with different booths and then you go up for your appointment and they walk you around the whole booth and show you everything they have and tell you what's going on, and they can answer any questions you have about anything. And then once you've done the booth tour, you can shoot your content. That's how I like to do it. So booth tour, shoot the content. Next booth. Booth tour, shoot the content. So kind of running booth to booth, but like you have a chance to talk with people from the company first. But some people are much better at scheduling it than others. Every year I'm like, dude, I should have done that. Like, I would have been able to hit many more booths if I had scheduled, okay, this day is going to be my convention center day. This day is going to be my Venetian day. This day is going to be my press suites day, right? So I wasn't trying to, like, I wasn't wasting so much time traveling from location to location to location. Now, I book my appointments first come, first serve. So like the companies that get out their appointments earlier, I'll book with them. And then sometimes there's a company I really want to see, and the only time slot they have available is a time slot that's inconvenient for me to get there. But I'd rather it be inconvenient and still see it than not get to see it at all, if that makes sense. Who showcases the product? That's different at every booth. That's up to each booth. Oh, Dark Lamba, there's always stuff I see that I'm like, that's never getting out of concept or trial phase. Always. Yeah, that's absolutely, there's so many of those, and some of those are hilarious to me. I did learn some secrets I can't share. I sure did. But that, you know, that's what CES is all about. And then when those things do come out, I can say, I saw that back at CES, you know. But yeah, I super geek out about CES. I think it's a lot of fun. I love seeing the new tech. I love seeing the new tech that doesn't work. I love seeing the new tech that looks absolutely goofy. Like there was a solar powered beach hat. So like it looks like a very unattractive wide brimmed beach hat with solar panels all over it. And it had a USB-A and a USB-C plug for you to charge your devices, which was hilarious. I also saw one that another company made that was a like women's jacket, like fashionable women's jacket with solar panels all over it for the same purpose. Which like those are probably who's gonna buy those? It's very funny. You always thought it would be fun to go to CES, but never had time to go. Astro Banshee, it is free to go to CES, I believe, as long as you're industry. It's always been free to me as media. You just have to prove that you're industry. But wait, CES is open to the public now. I don't know. If you buy it early, it's $149 to get into CES for a pass for the whole week. And if you are buying it last minute, it's $350 per ticket. But approved and credentialed media can always register for free. E3 is not around anymore, sadly. But yes, E3 was industry only, except for the last couple years. They opened it to the public on the last day. Computex was great. I was excited last year that Computex was my first time going. A bunch of people I saw this year and a bunch of companies I met with this year were like, are you going to be at Computex? And I had to give my like, we'll see if someone wants to hire me for Computex. I don't say it exactly like that, but that's the real answer. I mean, I can't afford to just leave Nate and Logan and fly to Taiwan for funsies. Like, it has to be as a job. Dark Lamba, yes, that is correct. It is a wild schedule when you're there for content creation. I remember when I used to go to CES with Phil and the SourceFed team. It was usually just me and Phil that went. No one else from SourceFed would go. Phil would go for his channel and I would go for SourceFed and SourceFed Nerd. And we would bring 2 shooter editors. And the way we would do it back then was I would run out all morning and film stuff with shooter editor 1. And then that person would go back to the hotel room to edit what we just shot. And shooter editor 2 would be with me all afternoon shooting. And then they would go back to the hotel room to edit that. So they would just swap. The shooter editors would swap who got AM and who got PM each day. And I would just be filming morning till night. It was a lot. But we were able to put out a lot of great long form videos as a result of that. But yeah, you're just exhausted by the end of it. And so after I went freelance and wasn't with SourceFed, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to be able to cover all this by myself. And then I realized over the years that it really is impossible to do it by yourself. So you just see what you can see and don't push yourself to the point where you get sick. See what you can see and be done with it. And I was very lucky that this year's CES, I had the opportunity to partner with Lexar for some Instagram content, to partner with Yi Yan for some YouTube content, which just went up this morning, to partner with Ring for some Amazon content, and to partner with AMD for some Twitch content. So, busy CES, busy start to the new year, which is great because at this point, talking to our insurance company for the flood, we might be out 40 grand. I hate to even say that number out loud because, dear Lord. But that's why Nate is running back and forth and printing things out and making phone calls and doing everything we can. So I am working my hiney off. So if in the last month and this month you hear me say things like, please go like my sponsored content, know that it's because I'm trying to pay for everything my insurance definitely won't pay for. Nate's fighting the good fight on his front, and I'm fighting the good front how I can. It's an absolutely insane amount. Yes. Why even pay for insurance at that point? I know, this is really how I feel. Nate and I were up late last night talking about it, and it was like, why? Yeah, it's out of control. It's out of control. Now, that being said, there was a lot of damage done to our home. There was over $150,000 worth of damage done to our home. So, from the flood. And that is a lot of money.
You have returned.
At that point, that's more than we even have paid into our house from our mortgage. No, not LA fires. No, just from the flood. No, 6, welcome back. So yeah, so there was over $150,000 of damage done to the house. And insurance is basically well, we're only going to cover this much for this and this much for this, even though we have receipts that are like a good example is mold remediation cost X amount. And insurance is well, we think mold remediation should only cost X amount, so we're only going to give you this much money. And we're like, yeah, but that's not how much it costs. I'm showing you a receipt right here that this is how much it costs. And they were like, sorry, that's not what we have allotted for that. Astro Banshee, so are we, honestly. It's very possible that we got really taken advantage of by our contractors. Because we don't know, we're first-time homeowners. And, we were panicking. We've never had our house destroyed before, so, I don't know. It's exhausting. Aw, almost active. You're so sweet. For the, you mean for sponsored stuff, ad engagement? It depends on the platform, honestly. But Instagram really likes comments, likes, shares, and saves. YouTube likes, shares, comments, and likes. But yeah, it depends on the platform. But I always joke around with my friends that, like, if I post something and it's a sponsored piece of content, share it back to me. Like, watch it, like it, and then share it back to me. Do send to a friend and send it to me. Just the more shares, the better, you know? Mr. Biggs, it can feel that way. Yeah. So it helps if you save posts on Insta. Yes. That does help. Does that actually even work? Tech Ninja, what? When they share it back to me? I have no idea. I don't know. There's always people on Instagram that are like, here's what you have to do to get more reach on your reels. And I don't even know if they know what they're talking about. But anytime you hear anything from Instagram directly, they're like, the more content is watched till the end and widely shared, the more we promote that to new people. So it's like, okay. It's all engagement. The more engagement, the better is what they say. But yeah, I'm like, if my sponsored content performs well, then hopefully I will get more sponsored content and maybe better offers for sponsored content. It's also really interesting being at CES and talking to my fellow creators and seeing how many of them, like how much they charge for a certain type of content, like a certain type of post or something like that. Because there's no like standardized way to do it. So we all just kind of do like what we think is fair. And like some of my fellow creators do really well. Like they're like, oh, I charge triple that for that. And I'm like, you do? It does not matter if you have no following. It does not matter. A share is a share. Sharing is caring as well, yes. Yeah, it's a thing. But anyway, Nate is working his butt off. He's my hero. He's been working his butt off since the flood started to get all of this. But yeah, our biggest hiccup. So we thought we were only going to be out like $10,000 from the whole flood situation, which still, to say only $10,000 is crazy. But when you're dealing with like $150,000 of damage, only $10,000 feels like we made out pretty good. But this week, the new thing is the insurance came back and are like, actually, $30,000 of that we already gave you, we're going to question that now. We might take that back. What? And also the Santa Ana winds are kicking back up Sunday and Tuesday and Wednesday. So, you know, that's a thing. Maybe it won't even be a thing after Sunday and Tuesday, Wednesday. I shouldn't even say that out loud. Knock on all the wood. It's wild. It's wild. I agree. It shouldn't be allowed. Once they've awarded the amount is awarded. They shouldn't be able to go back in and then be like, actually, we're not sure about this now. We want to investigate this now. A lawyer would just make it so much more expensive. We also already hired a public adjuster to like help us with our end of it, but the public adjuster gets 15% of the claim. So if our claim is roughly $100,000, that's $15,000 we have to pay to the public adjuster. We haven't even began to think about that yet. So it's like we finally, I don't know if you remember last year I was celebrating because we finally paid off all the roofing damage that happened right before Logan was born. We had to take out a big loan right before Logan was born with all the like roof leaks then. And we finally paid that off last year. And I'm like, well, here we go again. I guess this will be our next big house project loan. I was excited to like not have a lien on the house, you know. Silly me. But honestly, at least we have our house. There are so many people in LA right now that don't have their house anymore. Yeah, the never-ending money pit of home ownership, indeed. Firefighters are doing amazing. A house is a hole surrounded by wood in which one pours money. From what I know now, would you have sold the house if water mold happens? Like if we were in that situation again? No, we wouldn't have sold the house, but that's a decision. That's a personal decision for us because when we bought this house, we wanted it to be our forever home. And we've like done things to it like the bar with the expectation of like, this is our forever home. Now, maybe if we had bought a house that was like in our 5 to 10 year plan and then we were planning on buying something else, maybe then we would have considered it, but not for us. James Woods lost his house. That's awful. Anyone that lost their house, it's awful. Ooh, stretch reminder. Thank you, Frequency Punch. I will. I'm shrimping in my chair anyway, so it's good. Ugh, I forgot. The big PC is back here. Don't fall on that. New PC is clearly not installed yet. I just had time to unpack my clothes. I showered, so I don't smell like cigarette smoke from Vegas. I showered and unpacked my clothes. I haven't unpacked any of my recording equipment or anything like that yet. Yeah, and you'd have to sell it as is if you didn't fix the mold damage. Exactly. Paris Hilton. Oh, I didn't realize Paris had 10 houses, but she did lose a house. I saw that. Yeah, that Palisades neighborhood is like a lot of famous people had houses there from what I understand. I had never been to that neighborhood because I am not that cool, nor am I that wealthy. But yeah, I mean, I know of that neighborhood. Yes, Odyssey Dave, you're absolutely right. To spend that much money on your house and just be restoring it to what it was. Because that's everyone keeps being like, but are you excited about your new bathroom you're getting out of it? I'm like, no, because it's just like, I liked the other bathroom. No. Oh, Subi, your mom's dealing with a house fire rebuild with her insurance and they've been really good. Okay. Well, we have State Farm and they're awful. There you go. I was alluding to it before. We have State Farm and they've been horrendous. So I don't know who your mom has, but woo. Billy Crystals. Mm-hmm. Astro Banshee, you agree. I'm sorry. I hope you haven't had to deal with it. Your friend's relative lost a house in the Palisades. They were lucky enough to evacuate to their other house. I imagine people that live in the Palisades, there might be multiples of them that have like another house they could go to. It's really, again, the people in Altadena from the Eaton fire where like the Rose Bowl's over there and that's where all the like come get free food. Like a lot of LA restaurants are just bringing lots and lots and lots of food shipments to the Rose Bowl. People are bringing clothes donations, water donations, diaper donations. Like the Rose Bowl is kind of the hub for like people who their house is burnt down and they have nowhere to go there to get resources. So like Palisades, for those of you that don't know the LA layout, Palisades is further west, like by the coast, by Malibu. But the Eaton fire by Altadena is just north of Pasadena. That's further inland. That's further east. And again, that like Altadena, Pasadena area is much more middle class. And just kind of, you know, regular everyday folks. And so they're really struggling. Yeah, Mackenzie, I'm based in Los Angeles. I'm in LA County, not LA City necessarily. I used to live in LA City, but then we decided to get a house and get a kid, and you tend to move a little farther out of the city. Or at least we did. We couldn't afford to buy in the city. That would have been outrageous. With California building regulations, how long will it even take to build a new home? I don't know. They've done a really good job of doing like emergency regulation workarounds for the working against the homeless crisis within the last, I would say, 3 to 5 years. So the regulations don't take as long as they used to if the mayor decides that this is an emergency situation, which I'm pretty sure they will for this. Like they already have on so many levels. I don't know why building regulations wouldn't be included in that. I can't smell smoke from outdoors where I am because the wind is going the other way. Yeah, I'm assuming they're probably going to get the houses built even faster now. Yeah. Astro Banshee, that's kind of where we were too. But we think after the flood that they're probably going to drop us anyway.
Gotta have people to build those houses.
And that's what Nate said. A big problem. Nate just said, gotta have people to build those houses. A big problem, and this is what we were dealing with our flooding situation, both right before Logan was born and now, is there's just not a lot of contractors that are available. And so you'll wait months for a contractor to do anything, like just to be free to work on your project. And good contractors are really hard to find because they're so in demand that people can do a like subpar job and you just get what you get because it's so hard to find contractors that are available. Yes, Lucas says you pay for insurance, you finally have to use the insurance, you use the insurance, and then they drop you for using your insurance. Yep. Yep. And Chicago, that's very true too. So I just have to hope that the people in power are not evil enough to do that. I have to have hope. I'm not saying that that's what I think or don't think will happen. I just have to hope. Yeah, there's the snowstorms on the east. But yeah, what a kickoff to 2025, right? So anyway, if you are in SoCal, please stay safe. Wear a mask if you go outside and the air quality is really gnarly. Run air purifiers in the home and keep the windows and doors shut. And get yourself your go bag so that if you do have to evacuate, you have the things that you need the most with you. Mr. New York to Cali, so far so good on the con crud. I took a lot of preventative measures at CES. I didn't really go to any late night parties. Like sometimes you'll see on my Instagram story, I'll be like, oh, I'm at the blah, blah, blah brand party. I didn't really go to any this year. It also helped that I had a roomie this year. I was rooming with my good friend Shannon Morse, Snubs, online. And so there were a lot of nights she and I just like finished doing all of our separate filming. And then I'd text her at like 6 or 6:30 and be like, hey, I'm wrapping my filming for the day. I'm coming back to the hotel room. Do you want to grab dinner? And then she and I would just go have like a nice, quiet, chill dinner. And then go back in the room and edit or work on content. Change into PJs, research for the next day of filming, and go to bed at like a decent hour. So we weren't doing the big party scene this year. Speaking of sad things, she's been public about this, so I don't feel like I'm sharing her personal information. Her kitty cat of 15 years passed away while we were at CES, which was obviously devastating to her. When her husband called and said, you know, our kitty took a turn for the worst, she was ready to like leave CES immediately and fly home. But it was so dire that even if she left immediately and got out on the next flight, she wouldn't have made it home in time. So there was a whole day that she just like canceled her appointments and hibernated in the room to mourn her kitty cat. And so she was like, you know, trying to compartmentalize as much as possible to get the work done she needed to get done at CES. But then she was like, I still have to go home to a house with one less cat in it. So really, really weird CES, I think, for a lot of reasons. There were a lot of people that were upset and potentially having family evacuate in LA while they were in Vegas at CES. Poor Snubs lost her kitty cat Starbuck. Yeah, losing a pet's the absolute worst. So it was a little bit of a strange CES. So with all that being said, I was not going out and partying like a rock star. I was really trying to focus on the work that I was there to do and trying to put out great content for all of you guys, and coming home to my family so that we could get a handle on the things we need to get a handle on in terms of dealing with the insurance from our flood situation and in terms of dealing with all the fires in LA right now. Like, I'm looking at my computer and it says wind warning effect currently. Let's see what it currently says. Today is Friday. We've got a high wind warning until today at 2 is what it says. And then I think reports are saying it should kick back up Sunday and it should kick back up Tuesday and Wednesday. So Snubs is the best. Everybody go share some love with Snubs on her socials, because she had to come home to a house with one less kitty in it. And that's been her kitty cat for 15 years. What are you posting about DK and Diddy Kong? Fate photo? Mr. New York to Cali says they increased state of emergency coverage area. Utilities are on high alert. We had some preventative internet outages already. I know, not in our area, but normally, because again, normally we're in a fire area whenever these things happen. Power can be shut off, internet can be shut off, and all of those are preventative. We had a lot of friends this time whose power normally doesn't get shut off, have their power shut off. The wind spreading fire and grounding the water carrier planes was really rough. Yeah. It was so windy. Like, I showed you guys that video. It was so windy that planes couldn't fly, clearly, in that. Yes, Roa, Snubs lost a cat at CES, which is so sad. Like, that's something she definitely would have wanted to be home for. Vampire Anarchy, a lot of people in California have solar panels. Your power was shut off for nearly a day due to the winds after the LA fire started. Mm-hmm. Valencia Game Den. I'm curious. Are you actually in Valencia? I'm sorry. I've probably asked you this before in chat. But I see Valencia Game Den and I'm like, okay, here, I just Googled you. You're an indie dev. I'm thinking like hobby shop board game store. Oh, your last name's Valencia. You live in Riverside. I see. I was like, Valencia, like right by Magic Mountain? I'm sure I probably asked you that before, so thank you for humoring me and answering it again. But yes, I did have a good time at CES, seeing all the new tech. It's good to be back. CES is actually still going on. Today is the last day of CES, but honestly, I've been in Vegas since Saturday night, and I can only do Vegas for so long, and especially with everything going on in LA right now, it's really good to be home with the family. So I did Saturday night to Thursday night. Some people only come in for the show floor, which is Tuesday through Friday. But I like to go in Saturday night to get unpacked and set up, and then media days are Sunday and Monday. So I try to get a lot of my filming done on the media days because it takes time, even after I filmed it, to get all the content together and distribute it. So I feel like if I start filming Sunday and Monday, then I can start putting out content Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which is more like when I feel like people are searching for CES stuff. I didn't get to see the new LG TVs, sadly. I did get to see a new gaming monitor from LG, which was cool. Javoy says, I got to see you be a badass in Black Ops 6 Zombies. I had so much fun playing that, and I really didn't think I was going to. And what made me very happy about it is I didn't have to play with strangers. I was worried I was going to have to play both days, like, just getting schooled by mean people online. And I was like, my heart can't handle that right now. So I was really excited that A, I could play zombies, and B, that I could play it by myself. I could play zombies and I could play by myself. So I didn't have to worry about strangers yelling things on my stream that are totally inappropriate, or yelling at me and making me feel sad about life. I didn't have to deal with that at all, which was great. And I also didn't have to go around like violently taking down other humans. I could take down zombies. So I had a good time, believe it or not. BDC says I was doing really well. You're very kind. I don't know that I was doing very well, but I feel like I improved quite a bit from where I started. Introvert gaming is the best. I'm one of the most introvert gamers. SDS says I also play Call of Duty by myself. You're not alone. Okay, good. Yeah, I don't want to be schooled by rude nephews. Just a couple of live backseat spectators. I'm grateful for all the help that I got. Lucas says any denial has to be in writing, and initially agreeing to covered is called a step-L, and if they go back on agreeing to pay, that is a denial, which could be another potential exposure to the insurance company. I'm not sure if I'm following all that, but Nate just informed me about the new insurance thing last night when I was at the airport on my way back here. So it's a never-ending stressor. Bye, Nate, says Dante. But I like people in real life. I like seeing people in real life. Did they send us a letter of denial? Honestly, Nate's been handling all of it, and I have no idea. No, the newest thing is that I think they're questioning stuff, and we need to like go to a notary or write a certified letter or something. I don't know. Nate was explaining it to me last night, and after I unpack everything, we're going to need to like sit down and talk about it after Logan's in bed one night. The bee haptic suit was awesome. It was really cool. There's also a Twitch integration for it. Yo. That's amazing. New user says drinking game. Take a shot every time someone mentions AI as part of their pitch. 2 shots if the description of AI makes no sense. Oh, I'd be done by booth 2. STS, I don't know. Nate, like I said, Nate's been dealing with all of it while I've been working. And like trying to just focus on work because someone's got to pay for all this stuff. And again, since insurance didn't pay for all this stuff, I've been like really head down and trying to work while Nate's been dealing with all that. I don't think they think it's a scam. I think they've been pushing back on how much we were charged for things, and they just don't want to pay as much as we were charged for things. Like, for example, the Alienware PC, which was one of the things destroyed in the flood for this house, they gave us $900 for, because that's what they've allotted for a PC that's a couple years old should be worth, is $900. I can tell you that PC would sell for way more than that now, and I had an updated GPU in it. The updated GPU is alone worth more than $900. So when we push back and say, like, that's not how much cost of replacement is, right, the GPU itself is over $1,000. Exactly. So it's like every single little thing like that. Or, I mean, the craziest one to us was the mold remediation process. The mold remediation process. We hired people that are really good. They came highly recommended to make sure everything would like be absolutely no mold in our home, because that's a big deal. You want that, right? And our mold remediation company, I think it was like over $7,000 for everything they did. And insurance was like, well, we only have $3,000 allotted for that line item, so you get $3,000. And we were like, yeah, but it costs $7,000. Like, here, this is what we paid. You can see the contract. You can see our checks. This is what we paid for that. And they were like, nope, here's $3,000. Yeah, they look at it all pretty black and white, and they never pay actual replacement cost. So yeah, this is what everyone's saying. I was like, I guess that's typical. But so that's when we're looking at like how much we're going to be out. It's a lot. It's a lot. But yeah, we're going to be out somewhere between $10,000 and $40,000 is what it looks like. But at least we still have a house as of today. Don't be surprised if you have to litigate it. Well, we already are paying, I don't know, $10,000 or plus to the public adjuster. And then we're supposed to hire a lawyer on top of that? Are you kidding me? Yeah, Varen says you're supposed to use the cheapest, most mediocre services to fix things. But like, you don't want to do that with mold remediation. I've heard horror stories from people that had to use like cheap mold remediation companies, and then 5 years later their house had such a bad mold problem it was like a total teardown. Just awful. The lawyers are expensive, yeah. Yeah, mold is bad. Exactly. So that's what I'm very happy we went with the mold remediation people we went with. The mold remediation company we went with, the guy who owns it, first of all, he's the nicest man. The guy who owns it, his dad was hospitalized, and it turned out, this was like his origin story, his dad was hospitalized for having mold in his house. And they didn't know that's what it was. They had no idea there was a mold problem in the house. This was before he got into it. They thought it was like dementia symptoms that his dad was having, and then his dad was hospitalized, and they found out that his dad, that it was mold damage, and that's what was causing it. And so fortunately for his father, once they got him out of that environment and healthy again, he was like back to his old self, which is awesome. But because of this, the guy who owns this mold company is super attentive and has gone through all these extra certifications and stuff like that. So he's very knowledgeable about mold in the house, how to remove mold in the house, how to sanitize. He had our house tested twice just to make sure. And so that's what you need. Like, I don't know, that's what you need. Yes, get people with emotional ties to their job. Exactly. And he's the nicest man. Like, anyway, honestly, we will hire that man for like everything in our house moving forward. He was great. He was one of the contractors that worked on our house that Nate and I were both just like, thank you so much for all of your help and keeping our family safe. And yeah, he was great. It's nice that he cared. He was awesome. But yeah, that like, it was like his company that was like maybe insurance is like, well, you don't get 2 mold tests to make sure it's really gone. And like, that guy was extra careful there was no mold. And insurance is like, we don't pay for extra careful. We care for bare minimum care. We only pay for bare minimum careful. But we don't know. We've never been through this before. We don't know. Frequency punch, no joke. That's exactly what I thought when Nate told me that last night. Ugh, Iridel says your old college office building got black mold and it didn't really get fixed until they tore the building down. That's awful. That is awful. Purgatory says, so the insurance company was really trying to rip him off. Maybe. And yeah, if insurance companies had their way, they wouldn't pay for anything. Like, when I was younger, one of my first jobs in LA, I laugh about it now, but for a couple weeks I was selling extended auto warranties over the phone. And from what I understand, in hindsight, those extended auto warranties, a lot of them work like timeshares. Where like, if it was true, what the salespeople were telling you, and that's really what you were buying into, it would be a good deal. But there's so much fine print and like arguing whenever you actually want to take a claim that it's not worth it. It's a bad deal. But yeah, it's super gross. Yeah, don't do that. Don't fall for that. Svid, how are you? Yeah, that's the you got the basic gist of it. You got the basic gist of it. But, you know, it's an adventure. I mean, that's what I said in like the house update when I was like, the house is finally put back together, is that like we'll still be fighting insurance for a very long time. But at least the house is put back together, which again, in the grand scheme of everything happening in LA right now, we are so fortunate to even still have a house. Being tens of thousands of dollars in the hole, thanks to fixing the house, at least there's still a house to fix. But yeah, that's where we are. So anyway, CES was fun. Go watch the YouTube video if you want to see some of the stuff that I saw. I put most of it in there that I was able to film. And I'm glad to be home now. I'm glad to be home now. Aw, Vampire Anarchy, that's very kind of you to say. I am still waiting to see how it shakes out. There are a lot of people right now whose full homes have been destroyed that are much more in need of the generosity than us. Like, I can still at least work to make that money back. There's a lot of people that can't even work right now because they have no houses and no clothes and no food. And Mr. New York to Cali, I'll definitely have to look into that. I don't know if there's tax deductions or stuff that we could do. Starcat. I know. I have some friends that said, you know, they had like flooding issues in their house and they're like, we got a whole new bathroom out of it that was paid for by insurance. And I'm like, man, that is not our experience. But this is now twice in my life that I've personally had bad experiences with State Farm. So I don't know who has good experiences with them. I hope other people do. I hope they're not just out there ripping everybody off. But this is the second time I've had a hard time with them in my life. The first time in my life was when I was in my 20s with a renter's insurance policy. So I do have two actor friends, SVID, that their apartment burned down. Their husband and wife, and their apartment burned down. And they lost everything in their apartment, clearly. I'm not friends with Paris Hilton, but Paris Hilton did lose a house. Starcat says, like a bad neighbor, State Farm is absolutely no effing where to be found. But yeah, a lot of people's whole... Yeah, State Farm canceled most policies in SoCal. And they did stop selling new policies, which is why Nate and I, after this flood, we were like, well, they're going to drop us next year anyway. We're just grateful that we still have a home to be fixed and be an insurance nightmares over. And you know what? That could change at any time. So, Chicago, drop them like a bag of poop. Whoa, Dark Lamba says Felicia just posted that her realtor friend has seen rents for places in LA jump 30% overnight. That's so awful. I know a lot of, you know what, and say what you will about Airbnb. I know a lot of people love to hate on Airbnb, but there's a lot of Airbnb hosts right now that have Airbnbs in LA that are offering their places for free or super discounted. So the absolute opposite of people making their rent 30% more. Just evil. Oh yeah, state of emergency was declared before the fires even broke out, just in anticipation. As soon as they saw that the winds were going to be that bad and the conditions were this dry, California was like, we're ready to go. Everybody's mobilized. Let's do it. And like, even with all of the extra firefighter responder, like even with all of the extra resources ready to go, it's just more than they could handle. It's more than anyone could handle. Yeah, and Airbnb is for free is what they're doing right now. It's LA 211 partnered up with Airbnb to offer heavily discounted and free Airbnbs to people that are displaced because of the wildfires. Oh, no six. I didn't know that. No six said because I have a feeling some landlords are about to find out about anti-price gouging regulations under a state of emergency. Boom. I hope their greedy butts get busted hard. Yeah, Airbnb is doing free nights. Ubers and Lyfts have discounts. Yeah, I wonder if maybe some of the price gouging is happening in Long Beach or Orange County or somewhere that's like close but not in LA County. Maybe. But yeah, right now the winds are not blowing any of the current fires in our direction. That could change at any moment. Yep, the new fire. See, just in the time we've been streaming, that 1 acre fire is now an 18.8 acre fire. The winds are still going away from where I currently am. And the winds aren't that fast right now. Like Fire Tim says, dang, like just since we've been talking 1 acre to 18.8 acres, and the winds aren't even that bad right now. Let me see. The winds are currently 14 miles per hour, which is nothing compared to what they were. Wild. Just wild. Hi, Landar. How are you? Yeah, the majority of people, you're right. Even though there's scummy people trying to take advantage, the majority of people are like really banding together and being lovely. So many restaurants are donating just huge amounts of free food that anyone can go to the Rose Bowl and get right now. I'm actually thinking about after this stream, I might take 2 big bags of clothes down there for people that have no clothes. Just to like stay warm. And I was asking Logan this morning, and I said to him, I was like, what do you think we should do to help the people who have no homes right now because of the fires? And he was like, I'm going to think about it. And I said, okay. I considered canceling today's stream just to like drive down to Rose Bowl and see what I could do to help. But it's probably less helpful for me to just be like, I'm a body, what do you need? And more helpful for me to like think of a plan and like bring clothes or something. Shaq news. I know. I looked for you, Ozzy. I looked for you after I saw you at, what was that, Unveiled, and couldn't find you. You got lost in the sea of people. Let's see. Okay, Mr. New York to Cali says the Rose Bowl doesn't have infrastructure to handle private donors. They're recommending Red Cross donations. Okay, thank you. That's what I mean. Like, I don't just want to, like, go down and, like, cause chaos. I want to make sure that we're doing things through the proper channels. Ozzy, I only said hi to Rich for, like, 3 minutes. Like, it was such a quick conversation with Rich. And then when I turned around, I was like, where did Ozzy go? And I legit like looked all up and down the aisle and could not find you. So I was like, all right, you're busy and that's okay. It always happens at CES. I see people and it's like, hi, bye, hi friend, bye friend. But it was good to see you for like 2 seconds. And thank you for stopping me and saying hi. I saw some saying dropping sandwiches at firehouses helps them a lot right now. Okay, great. We live right near a firehouse. We've got one like 3 minutes down the street, so I could always run down there and see what they need too. Oh, thank you, babe. I'm about to sign off anyway. Mm-hmm. Thank you, sweetheart. Did you make that? That looks delicious.
Yeah, it was last night's meal.
Thank you. But yeah, so I'm gonna finish unpacking all my stuff from CES and just kind of like spend time with Nate and Logan and probably review what's in our bug out bag here so that if the situation does get worse Sunday and or Tuesday or Wednesday, we're as prepared as we can be to go. And then we're going to go today and do what we can to drop off donations, whether it's at the fire company down the street or whether we end up going down to the Pasadena area and help out there. You know one actor who did Oh, he was in Cobra Kai, so an actor that was in Cobra Kai is down there helping out. That's awesome. Yeah, just kind of chill out for a bit. Nate is a miracle worker behind the scene. Mad love for that husbando of mine. He's great. And I need to get our heads together with him to deal with the next step of the insurance nightmare. The insurance nightmare has been happening since early September. So, like, poor Nate and I just both have so much fatigue about it. Like, we're both like, I just want it to be done. But I know that that's what they're banking on. Like, especially now with them coming back and being like, actually, you know what? This part we awarded you, we're questioning that now. They are just hoping that our fatigue with the whole thing is like, you know what? Fine, whatever. And that we just say fine. So we're going to really try not to do that. Oh, he's advocating about helping those he know who got affected by the fire. Our friends who lost their apartment set up a GoFundMe, and they've already raised like $36,000, which is so great. I don't know if that replaces everything they lost in their apartment, but it'll go a good long way towards it. And for like putting them up in the meantime, because moral of today's story, you never know what insurance is or isn't going to cover. It's a gamble. It's a gamble. I am Drax says I'm sure a bottle of wine is going to be open when you get over this insurance nonsense. Honestly, a bottle of wine was open just when the house was finally like put back together. That was a huge milestone. Tech Ninja says don't back down now. You're in the right. Right. Indeed. Am I going to TwitchCon 2025? I definitely hope so. That is my intention. Megalithic. That $750 FEMA check will go this far in Los Angeles. That's like this far. So yes, so we will keep it up. I'm going to go give some love and some emotional support to my husbando and my child. But thank you all for hanging out with me. We did actually talk about Nintendo a little bit. I didn't get to do this on Amazon as well because the Amazon streams take a while to set up. And I just didn't have time for it today. I still have to unpack. But hopefully, when I see you all on Sunday, not tomorrow, but this Sunday, hopefully it won't be so windy that I will still have power and I will still have internet and I'll be able to do a Sunday stream. And I'll be a little bit more situated in the house. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you are in an area that's blanketed in snow right now, stay warm. If you're in a fire-prone area, please make sure you're ready to evacuate if need be, or if you're already evacuated, I hope that you have somewhere safe to stay. And just thank you all for being lovely and supportive and hanging out with me, whether we're talking about CES or Nintendo rumors or insurance nightmares or just playing a game. You always make me smile, so thank you. All right, everyone. Stay safe and healthy, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.